So people who already know us, who are our regular attendees, so we are KSUG or KSUG.AI Meetup group. We used to run a lot of Kubernetes related meetups, related sessions. But as they say, change is the only constant thing. So with the evolution of AI and how technology is changing, so we are shifting our focus as well. So we are running a lot of AI related talks that actually run on containers, pretty much on Kubernetes. And thanks to Google for this particular event, I'm very, very, very excited. There are two reasons. One, as KSUG.AI, we are truly going multi-cloud this time. So we have been running talks related to AWS as well as Microsoft. This is the first time we are hosting our event at Google. Thanks to Google, thanks to Matt for hosting us. And I personally am a great fan of Google Cloud Platform. So I'm a Google developer expert, and I've been using Google Cloud for last maybe 8 or 10 years or so. I personally like Google Cloud, so that's one of the reasons why I'm very, very excited to host our first session here at Google Sydney. If you want to follow us, feel free to scan the QR code, or as the gentleman said, it's probably not working. So this is the link to our socials. It should actually work. This is the link to our socials. So, what you'll see, can I switch to? Yeah, I've already plugged in. Is it not? Okay. Oh, is it? Okay. I'll try it. Yeah, okay. All good, thanks. So these are, as a community, what we do, we share a lot of discounted vouchers. We share a lot of coupon codes with the community members. So when you join the community, if you follow KSUG, you'll be able to grab some of those discounted prices for the exam vouchers. So there is a program called Cluster, which is pretty much if you do all the 5 certifications on Kubernetes, you get 50% discount vouchers. And as community members, people who are already Kubestronaut in our community, they voluntarily share those 50% vouchers to the wider community, to the community, or to the people who actually attend our meetups. More than that, every now and then, we also have discounted vouchers for the platforms like CodeCloud. CodeCloud is a very, I think it's one of the most followed and one of the most renowned platform for DevOps. So feel free to follow us. There are heaps of free vouchers as well for Microsoft certifications, AWS, and also Google. So every, I've got, I think, 11 or maybe 12 out of 14 Google certifications. So as a certified people, we get 50% discount. And if you are not using it, so we happily share those vouchers, those discounted coupons with the community members. So this is the bookmark. This is the URL for all the discounts, and some of the discounts I've highlighted there. So I won't spend too much time on that. Feel free to have a look. For agenda, we are gonna have Yash, who is gonna talk about Orchestrate the Orchestrator, which is Gemini Power Agents for GKE workflows. So he's gonna show how you can manage the managed Kubernetes engine using agents. Then we'll have a break at about 6:30 for half an hour for food, for drinks, and for networking. We'll reconvene our hands-on workshop at 7. From 7 to 7:30, Yash is gonna do a hands-on workshop. Then I think most of the people who actually already attend our meetups, they'll know we'll run a quiz. So we'll have a set of questions and we'll look at the leaderboard. So top 10 people on the leaderboard will get their hands on some really cool swag. So there is some few books there that are written by Googlers about data engineering on Google Cloud, GenAI, architecting GenAI solutions, and also that cool white Google Cloud water bottle. We'll also have a few discounted vouchers for the Kubernetes exams and 6 months Code Cloud platform access for 3 lucky winners. And then later on, open mic, group photos. If you have any questions, if you want to catch up with other people, feel free to do that. All right. So with that, without taking much of ado, I'll invite Yash to present his talk, which is going to be Orchestrate the Orchestrator, Gemini-powered agent to manage your GKE cluster or workflows. Yash, give him a right applause, please.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Awesome. I am Yash. I work as a consultant at a company called Vivanti. As a consulting company, we do a lot of work on Google Cloud as well and all of the clouds. But I primarily focus on GCP. I am one of the Google developer experts in cloud and AI, and been delivering some talks about some really cool AI stuff. I am not a GKE expert, by the way. So if anyone is a GKE expert and I say something stupid, forgive me. I am an AI guy. I'm not a GKE expert. So I've made this presentation so that I can bridge the gap and explain how AI can work with so many different tools and services out there and just automate your workflows. Today, I'll be giving you a brief introduction about AI agents. What exactly do they do? Are they just chatbots? I'll give you an introduction about what's the difference between just generic LLMs or chatbots and AI agents. I'll be giving you an introduction to workflows on how you can orchestrate multi-agent environments and workflows, and how does tool calling work, and how do you convert agents as tools for a larger agentic. I was hoping not to use agentic, but agentic application. I'll give you an introduction on the workshop, what we're going to do as hands-on. If you don't have a GCP account already, you should, because you get 300 credits anyway, and you will be able to do the workshop along with me. So we can help you with questions and actually do some hands-on stuff rather than just watching me do it. It's more fun if you get your hands on to the agent stuff as well. And then finally, the workshop itself. What exactly is an AI agent? So the difference between AI agent and a chatbot is the ability to reason, plan, and act. So a chatbot can usually just converse with you to say, oh, I found this, I found that. This is the information that I could fetch. Maybe if you've used RAG applications, there's still a form of chatbots. With agents, you can have reasoning capabilities. So all these models that you see these days, you see that they can reason. Gemini has reasoning capabilities. ChatGPT gives you reasoning abilities. So that's how they actually plan what they're actually going to do. So when you ask it to, let's say, in this case, manage your GKE cluster, it would actually reason and like a human, not exactly, but like a human, it would think like, what do I need to do? Do I need to look at my current pods? Do I need to look at my deployments? What do I need to do? And then plan out that, okay, based on this user's requirement, I need to call this API, for example, and then fetch the results out. So it can plan all of that and finally act, as I mentioned, with the APIs. So you always need to provide tools. And have you heard of MCP servers? Just one? Two? Okay. MCP servers are a standardized set of tool calling. It's in its most simplistic way, APIs for agents. So you could generalize all your actions in a standard format, and then your agents can interact with your backend resources, maybe it's your code or whatever it is. So it's a standard protocol. So that's how they act. That's, by the way, that image is created by Gemini. How cool is that? So what are the components of agent? So first of all, models, everyone has interacted with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, whatever it is. All of those are still models. They don't automatically become agents who can do stuff. So as an agent, they have any model that you want to use as its core, because that's where the thinking process starts from. So those models would plan what needs to happen. So based on your use cases, you would want to select model of the choice. Today, we're going to work with Gemini. And hence, if you can get your hands on to a free GCP account, it would be fun. Otherwise, I'll add you to my project just as a viewer so that you can see what I've been deploying in real time. It also needs an instruction, right? Because models are pretty generic. What is it supposed to do? What if I build all the, like I bring in Gemini and say, okay, manage my Kubernetes cluster, go. What's it going to do? Like, it doesn't know what exactly am I as Gemini helping the user. So there's a bunch of instruction sets that you can provide Gemini on how to plan its processes. How do I orchestrate myself? So we give it context about what's going to happen, what it should expect, and how it should process user interactions. So if I tell that you are a product designer and then ask, okay, manage my GKE clusters, it won't work because it doesn't know by default what exactly are the parts of GKE. So you usually need to give it some context around what's going to happen. So that's instructions. Tools, that's the most interesting part of agents, because that's where everything happens. That's where agents can actually act. And there's so many out-of-the-box tools that you can use. You have Google search, you have Tably search, you have MCP servers, you have RAG searches, you have all of that out there. But you can also build custom tools, which allows you to do pretty much anything. In this case, we'll be creating our own tools to interact with Docker on your system, interact with GKE clusters, and create deployments. So it's all under your control. So you can write anything, and the agent would use that ability to act on your behalf. So I know a lot of people come from a DevOps background in here, I assume. No? So how many people are from DevOps? Okay. Data engineering, software engineering, full stack. Okay. So we, so my intention for this one was to make it software engineering focused rather than an AI engineer, because if you knew all things about AI, you wouldn't be here. So I want to make it as simple as I can to write new functions and new tools to do pretty much anything. And in this case, it's managing a GKE cluster. Maybe you have a different use case at your workplace. You're just running a project. I just want to enable you guys to write any functions and then integrate it with an agent. Doesn't matter if it's Gemini, because tools are agnostic, right? I can write a Python function that can interact with GKE clusters. I can write a Python function that can write code. I can write a Python function that can just do health checks on my servers and whatnot, right? So I just want to shift the focus from AI and push it onto tools today. So that would be the main intention. And finally, there are sub-agents. As I was talking, you could have multi-agent workflows. One thing that I've observed, and a lot of people have observed as well and have been posting about it, is when one agent has tens of tools, they get confused on what to do. So it's usually better to limit number of tools that an agent has and then create a multi-agent swarm. So you could have an agent that specializes with Docker commands. You could have an agent that specializes with GKEs. You can have an agent that specializes with communications and stuff like that. And then there's a supervisor that can integrate all of those together. So that's how sub-agents work. In this case, we will not go to that level of detail. We'll just make it simple so you don't get scared. There are a few workflows on how multi-agents work. So a single model architecture, as you can see here, is just a single LLM that sits there, a single agent that processes your input, generates an output. Maybe it has a few tools, but that's it. With sequential, you can chain multiple agents. I've said LLM just for the sake of it, but you can have multiple agents that sit here. And then you can say, okay, run process 1, then run process 2, then run process 3. So you could have a sequence of agents that do a specific task, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard coded. They would still decide what needs to happen in this specific situation. Parallel models is when all your agents would go on and do something, and then your supervisor agents would aggregate the outputs of each of these agents and then produce a result. So has anyone heard of competing agents? So a lot of people have been experimenting with creating different LLM agents for the same task and then giving them the same input, letting them process, and finally a supervisor agent would grade all of their results and pick up what's best for this specific scenario, because sometimes agents don't do exactly what you want. So there are parallel models as well that can do something like that, where you have multiple competing models. And then there's hierarchical routing, where you have a supervisor agent, as we saw before, but this supervisor agent would decide what agent should I call this time. So let's say I have 5 agents and 1 supervisor agent, and ask, okay, what's the date for? But oh, by the way, agents like LLMs are bad at identifying what day is it today. If you just go on ChatGPT without the ability to search, or Gemini, they would just be like, it's 2024. I'm not kidding. Just give it a try. It's going to happen if it does not have access to real-time data. So when you cut that off, they don't know dates. So if I ask it dates, then it's going to mess up. So sometimes you just create tools for it to understand what's current date, do some date operations and whatnot. So if I ask it that, okay, I'm interested in knowing what happened in the last 5 days, it would actually look up the date functions and stuff, right? So it decides that I need to go to this agent who specializes with current dates. So the supervising agent would go on and direct the inputs from user to the relevant agents. Does that make sense? So it's not like software engineering, isn't it? It's not AI at this point. It just seems like LLM just sits there in the middle, but everything is just logical flows, right? And what are we going to build today? A lot of talk, but now let's plan what we're going to do. So I am, as I mentioned, not a GKE expert. And if I want to monitor my GKE cluster, I made a deployment the other day and I just want to see what's going on. So I have to go somewhere, run an API command and see the health, what's the pod look like and all of that. What if I could just enable Gemini to do that on my behalf? And I just say, hey, Gemini, how's my cluster health? It would just come back with some results, right? So that's what we're building. Or maybe I could just say, Gemini, can you deploy this Docker file and expose it as a service? I don't want to run all the commands myself. I'm just lazy, I guess. So Gemini would actually build the Docker container from my local machine, push it to artifact repo, deploy it, and expose a service. And I'll show you this. Hopefully, a lot of people can do this exercise with me because this is super cool. Because I just had a Docker file sitting on my local machine and asked Gemini, please deploy it. And you can open the server there, and it's there. It just deploys everything for you. So in this case, I've just added one agent that does everything. Maybe not in the real world, but for this purpose, one agent can actually do all of that. We're going to use Gemini. I've said Gemini how many times? 15, 20, 30, I don't know. We're going to use Gemini. We'll give it a set of instructions about, okay, this is how you need to interact with these APIs. And when a user asks you a question and you respond, just give the outputs as a YAML rather than giving me the entire JSON output from my API call. Just give me the summary of it. Give me that the task succeeded, or if it failed, then why did it fail? Just give me a line or two. I don't want to read that entire JSON. If I wanted, I wouldn't have built this agent anyway. So we're going to create a few tools. Of course, I have pre-built that for you, but I would want you guys to explore what these tools do as well, because that's where the actual brains are, not in the LLM, as opposed to what a lot of people say. LLMs would just choose that or actually create a deployment for me, but the actual deployment steps go through your Python functions. Actually, those tools do the heavy lifting. Gemini just say, okay, I need to create a deployment. I can see a tool that does the deployment. Cool. But actually the brain sits there. It's on where your Python functions are. I shouldn't say brain, right? It's just the worker. But anyway, so the most interesting one is the build and push platform image. I can just give it a path to a local file, for example, and it needs to be a Docker file anyway because it's Docker. But if it's a Docker file, it has all of the things that it needs. It would run Docker build, push, tag it, push it to artifact repo, deploy it to GKE, expose it. Everything just happens. But it's not magic. It's all Python tools that do those heavy lifting. So we're going to build that. But no sub-agents, by the way, because single model. I actually was planning to have a short talk and a longer workshop. But now that we know that we have a few people who didn't get credits, I actually would like that. How many of you can create a GCP account with 3 credits right now? 1, 2. Okay, there are a few people who can just log in with their Gmail accounts and just create a GCP account, right? You'll get $300 credit anyway, so more than enough for this workshop. But if you can't, is it okay if I just start the setup with now?
So I can. The choice is yours. I mean, if you really want to try the workshop now, hands-on, feel free to create that. Otherwise, if you don't feel comfortable keying in your credit card details, although it's not going to be charged, if you can just come to me, give me your Gmail ID or whichever account, whichever ID you want to use to give us for the viewer access for the Google Cloud Platform project. I'll grab your details and then we'll sort of access. Feel free to.
And I think let's use this time to get our hands on. What's that?
And for the people,
let me know.
For the people who are attending online, if you want to just post your IDs on the chat, we'll get you the viewer level access to the project. All right. Thanks everyone who is online. We are going for a break. We'll reconvene and we'll start the workshop in about half an hour at 7 p.m. And everyone who has provided their email IDs, we're going to grant them the viewer level access to the project. And you should see the project where we are going to deploy the resources before we start the workshop. Thank you. And now, 5 years down the line, 3 and some months. It happens every time. Now, just imagine how when you will be sitting on your desk and you'll say, "Hey, Gemini, spin up this Kubernetes cluster for me on Google Cloud Platform with these resources, and I want a so and so application," right? And it will do the job for you. So we'll see how that will work in action. And I'll invite Yash again onto the stage, who's gonna give us the demo of orchestrating the orchestrator, managing the Kubernetes using the powerful Gemini backed agents. Yash. Thank you.
Over here wants the viewer access. I think a lot of people, right? How can I share the link with you guys now? Is there a way I can share a link with them? Or maybe just go to, they still need to log in.
They should have, did you guys receive an email notification that you have been granted access as a viewer to a project?
Not yet.
No? Okay.
Maybe I'll just give them a link. It's not one.
All right. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just create a quick play link. Okay, you focus on the thing. I'll create the link.
Hey guys, can we move the pointer to my laptop?
Are you plugged in?
What's that?
Should be fine. I think that's fine.
Okay. Just scan this QR code for now. I'm not going to download it, but
Nice.
if you scan this, you will be redirected to Google Cloud Console. You should have a viewer access, but only if you send your emails to Anu.
Yeah. So for the online, I think it's your own Zoom.
Yeah, I've shared the link with you. And for the people online, I've shared the link with you on the chat. All set. I am going to take this up now. Can we go back to the slides, please? Sorry. Okay. So assume people have sorted out their projects already done. People haven't. You can see what we are doing, or if your neighbor is doing something cool, just look at what they're doing. Here's the GitHub repo now. Scan this, and you should be able to pull, because this is public repo I've created. Pull this. There's a command up there. Clone this repo as well if you just want to run a git command.
Yep.
Okay, so clone this repo, and that's about it for now.
So the Cloud Shell.
Yeah. Go to Cloud Shell. Okay. People who are actually running it. So if you click on Cloud Shell, Okay. So once you are in, click this icon here that says activate Cloud Shell. And it will ask you to authorize it. Authorize it, it would ask for login, whatnot. Once you're in, run this command. So make sure that you do this on Cloud Shell. So you have a same platform, you're not debugging your OS.
So when you get your credits, I mean, you can run these commands on your own machine. The reason we are doing it on Cloud Shell, because Cloud Shell has all the Python libraries and everything pre-installed. So you'll not have to install or troubleshoot your own softwares that are installed on the machine. So just in the interest of time, we'll use Cloud Shell for now, but you can pretty much do it on your own machine.
Yeah. Anyone has any trouble cloning, accessing this repo? I hope not. Done? Okay. So I'll move on to the next step, which is actually setting up the Python repo itself. So we're going to create a simple virtual environment and install all our dependencies so that we're not polluting the base Python environment. So go into Cloud Shell. Oops. And create a Python virtual environment. So it's as easy as, is it visible by the way to people? Yeah. Or should I zoom in? Just run these comments along with me. I'm just going to call it 2, so it's easier to manage my environment, but yes, done that. And I'm going to bring this back so if you need the next steps. And I'm actually going to figure out who's not running stuff because there's a mistake in here. I just realized that. So let's see. This one, a clone. So that's a clone. Are we able to Yep. If you run into a problem and raise your hand, I believe that you're actually working through this. And in the interest of time, I'll start running these things as well on my side.
And if I didn't say it initially, I'll just remind that the quiz will be based on what you are doing here. And only the leaderboard winners will get the swag.
Has everyone installed the requirements? It's fine. No rush. So you what does it say? Yep. So after you activate your virtual environment, CD into the GKE workshop folder and then run pip install time, because that's inside the folder. So CD into the GKE workshop. And now run the installation command. Working to it is right.
That's the first thing that you do. It's up to you to so I think set up. Yeah, you said it's what you can.
Okay, so now that people have installed, there's one thing that I did not tell everyone is to set up, you need to set the project ID, environment variables, and all sorts of things. So in here, if you keep scrolling down, set up these variables. They're already set up, I think, for most of you. Anyone have trouble with these? I've just preset these. Hopefully, if you run it, it should actually create all of these resources. Who's running into a project name error? You? Take a screen. So if the script prompts you to add a project ID, click on this button at the top, copy your ID in here, and just put it in the command line if it asks you. And once you run it, it might take a few minutes. Let it be. I will, in the meantime, walk you through what's next. ADK itself needs 3 files. So we are going to use Agent Development Kit by Google, which is an open source framework for orchestrating multi-agent applications. So in here, you need three files. First is called init.py, which is just from .import agent. So it's just initializing your agent. It just imports your agent from the agent.py file. So the second file you need is agent.py, where you have your project IDs and stuff like that in here. Don't worry about the logic in here, but you need that. Let's keep that in mind. That's the second file that you need. Maybe it might be a question in the quiz. I don't know.
So
and the third
we
file
are in step 3.
.env,
What you'll have to do
which has all your
is
environment variables required to set up the agent, run the agent. You wouldn't see .env file right now. So what you need to do is .env.local,
clone this.
set the cloud project empty and the image name empty, because so you guys need to populate these 2 fields and create a new file called .env out of it.
I need to park it.
So these are the 3 files.
Yeah, you'll have to clone it on the
Agent,
Cloud Shell.
and
So and then run this command.
Okay,
Run this command. So just take a picture.
That might be the place to say.
Or what is the
So once you have that, you're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is walk you through how it works. So now
Yeah, don't worry about the credits.
it's going to
You
take a few
just go
minutes
to our
because
project.
it's spinning up a GKE
Okay.
cluster. It's
Whichever
building
project you
an
want.
artifact repo.
Click
It
on
might take
Cloud Shell.
a few
Sorry.
minutes. In the meantime, you look and deep dive into the code.
Git combat.
As an
Yep.
example, if you remember, I said agents are bad. It's not just agents. LLMs are bad at identifying the
Can you
data.
take a picture of the schema?
Yes,
So
I
I'll save the
really
code,
one.
remove
Okay.
all of the tools.
Because
It still
there are
has the
people
information that
that I'm sharing the screen with.
See, we are using the Python.
Yes.
it doesn't have
So
any.
And then you need to
code
run
now.
these commands.
Good.
If I
We have
do
to make a
API,
virtual environment here.
yes. So
Things. I'm really looking forward to it.
We did cover a bit of theory. Okay. Now cd into the directory. You need to cd into that directory. GKE. Yep.
So just testing it works. Okay. If I ask,
That's it. Share. What happened?
No, it's explaining the code.
Okay.
hope everyone online can see the screen now. So once I open that, see, as I was saying, without any tools, Gemini thinks it's November 2024. And it's not just Gemini, all LLMs will do that. They don't have any real world information, usually unless they have access to tools. So how do we set up tools? Is in here, go back here. I will import just one simple tool for now, just show you how tools work. I just import one tool called today's date. And in here, I'll just say that you have access to one tool, which is called today's date. And what does today's date do? Tools, dummy tools, that's it. I just do a date and dot today. And with that, Easter. Now it went on all this tool, said, okay, all this function that I defined. That's the result that it got back from the function. Now it said today is 10th of June. So it's as simple as that. So it's if you can write something in Python, it's not necessarily Python. If you can do Java, you can do JavaScript, whatever it is, if you can write a function, your agent can use that. So a lot of heavy lifting is actually done by the functions that you create. If someone's cluster gets created, let me know, so I know that we can move on to the next detail part. So I'm just going to comment these bits out, and I'm going to show you what I've built. That's the So now if you look at it, I said import GKE tools, run job in GKE, get list, all of the tools that I built. And what are these tools? They're plain Python functions, by the way. So that's it. Anything. It's whatever name you want to give. Call it build with AI, Docker container, Docker, whatever it's fine. The name of the image is fine. But just make sure whenever it's referenced, use the same. It's an environment variable, so it would be used. So it's a Python function that I've built. And what it does is it gets all the environment variables that we need. It builds this object and it calls this Docker client.images.build with all of the parameters that we need. That's it. So that's what you would usually do on your command line as well, right? You do a Docker build tag, whatever it is. So you just translated that as a Python function. And now if I ask my GKE assistant to build a Docker container that's sitting in my system, it will do that. There's no magic around what LLM you use for this. It's like, as I mentioned, the heavy lifting is actually done by the tools. So if you have not just Kubernetes, anything that can be written as code, you can hook that in with your agent as a function call, and then it's tool, and then you can use anything. So that's the first one. The next one is a bit more full on. So I'm not going to read everything in there, but the first one is it runs a job in GKE. And what it needs is the image that we selected in the script, the project, location, cluster name, all of that came from the environment variables anyway. So you didn't pass any of that. You set the namespace. If you need to override it with the function, you can. By default, I set default, and so on. So the thing that you need to consider here is each of the arguments that you need the LLM or the agent to use, define it with a type hint. Otherwise, the agent wouldn't know what to pass to this function. So how the agents interact with a tool is they get all the definitions first of what tools to have access. What's the function documentation? So that's this. So it actually gets this as well. So it looks at what description you are given to this tool, which is run a container image as a job in the specified GKE cluster, blah, blah, blah. The agent would actually look at these doc strings to identify which tool to use. And plus, all the type hints that we've given here to pass on the correct values back to the tool. So if I just change this to integer, then the agent would just fail because this is the expected string. Agent doesn't know if you said 1, 2, 3. It might just give you a string 1, 2, 3. So all of these inputs for your tools need to be defined with a type hint and docstring. Easy. And in here, I'm just doing the same thing, getting the connection info, status, blah, 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 a lot of code. And if it's success, I return back with a specific result message. If it fails, then we respond with an error message. And because this is a loop, it's waiting for the job to finish deploying successfully. It will wait until it either errors out or it succeeds. Same for a GKE deployment. Had my parameters in. I gave it a docstring. Done. I have another function that gets the deployment status. So now if I ask Gemini, how's my deployment that I created this afternoon doing? It would poll it, see what the IP address is. It would check the health, how many pods have been created right now. All of that can be extracted using this method. And one more function, which is getting all deployment details. I'm not going to bore you with all the code because you already have access to it. So it's all of the functions that I've defined. And the fun bit is you could technically have had written this function, I don't know, without even agents existing, you would have written this function somewhere, someday, and you would have tested it out like this, right? If name is main, it's when you run this script, it does step 1, step 3, it does what you want it to do, right? So if you define a function, you have a test unit test or whatever. So there's no thing as such in these Python files, which is AI centric, is it? It's just a bunch of Python functions which you would have written anyway. Nice. Okay, so the cluster is ready. Nice. We can get into the next step. Anyone had any failures when creating the cluster? Any issues with the cluster? Okay, something interesting came up. So if you don't see the .env.local file in here, then go in the view section and click toggle hidden files. Because by default, Cloud Shell would just hide your files with the dots and just write the values that you want in there. Because there's a project that you need to write in the image name. It's fine whatever you want. Anything that you want.
Google project name
ID. So it's that with a brief suffix at the end. So if you go in here on top and select this ID. Okay. So now that we have a few clusters up and running, actually get it on. I'm not sharing my.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, yeah, image name I can.
So I've just called it ki-document.repo for myself. You can call it anything that you. Now we'll go back to the agent. I think this is where your code would be at. You'll have your tools, you'll have this. Let's jump into ADK again. So it would launch the server up for you. Make sure that you're in the root repo of the GKE agent workshop, otherwise it wouldn't find your agent. So once it's up and running, you can actually now start creating deployments. I'll just start with hi, just to make sure that it can actually do something. Yeah. Actually want to deploy something now. I don't know how to use GKE, right? So I'll just ask Gemini. It already has a few things. Project ID, cluster location, cluster name. It has all of that already. So it's what would we like to name deployments? Because of course you can't parameterize that. You need to find a name, otherwise it would just random. and what's the name of the image you would like to deploy. So for the sake of it, I am going to go here. Actually, let's take a step back. It's because you guys haven't actually done this before. Let's say so. So then again. So once you are in your cloud shell, you just ED into the workshop and run ADK web. So when you run ADK web from your it would just bring up something like this. Yes. And then it would have a URL. You won't be able to copy paste it, so you have to click on it to follow it because it's how Cloud Shell works. So follow link and bring it here. Are we able to do that? Now you just have a view of. So if you are using my Yash Sandbox account, you just have a view of permission, so you won't be able to do any of this. So you can just see this if you're on my project.
Yeah, the reason being, if there are concurrent commands running on the same project, I mean, it might lag. But as I said, you'll have the credits. You can play around later on.
And this request public as well. So go home. Reach out if you have any problems. So once you go into ADK web, you will be not to a UI like this. You can start talking to it now. It will ask you a few questions before it makes the first deployment for you. In this case, I said, I have a local file that I want to deploy. So it said, okay, I can help you build and push images. So I can just say that find a local file that sits here. So I have a folder called deployment, which will be useful for deploying a web server. And what it does is it's just going to return hello world at the time. Just going to show up that we can do something. If you can build a Docker container, it can be deployed. So jobs, there's another Docker file which is just hello world. So what I'll do is go in here. Yep. I will copy my path and I'll say, okay, here is my local path. String, it asks me another question. So if you go to artifact repo, they are any. We just need to copy this as a .png. So make sure that you have your .env file set up, otherwise they would be running into some trouble. So if you go to artifact repo, you'll be able to see something like this. It's already built based on what name you called it. Click on the repo and copy path. Go in here. Image path is this. And then I want to name it something cool. I'll say build with AI in June 2025. I'm just going to give it a new image name, which is build with AI. Hopefully, it does something. Okay. Yes. Deploy. Cluster. It might take a few minutes now because it's actually doing heavy lifting now. It's actually building your image. It will push your image to artifact repo. It would also deploy it to GKE, turn on the service. It will do everything for you from now. You might have seen it asking you a lot of questions. So you can actually set it up as an instruction to not ask you that many questions. But for now, I've just added these, let it ask these questions so that we can have different deployments going on at the time. Otherwise, it just creates one image every time. Let's give it a few more minutes. It's actually deploying something. We go in here. So I already have two images, which are not the same. So there's something on ADK which is called sequential, long-running tasks. Because in this case, we're actually having a long-running task. Most of the time, tasks are not that long-running. But in this case, we're actually dealing with a Kubernetes cluster, and that usually takes a while. So you could define this class, a Python tool that we ran as an async function. So it would yield at certain checkpoints, and it would just hang up from your agent, and your agent would still communicate with you, do whatever you're supposed to do, but it would still be processing all of your requests in the background. So you can make an async request as well. And then in that case, you can still continue talking to your agent, and when the deployments are completed, your agent would come back and say, oh, it's done. But you can still interact. If this was a blocking call, you could have an async call which is non-blocking. How do you guys think what's that? So if you see here, it built and push an image. And if you look at the logs, these are all the tools that it had access to. It picked the right tool, which is build and push the platform image. All of that went well, and it said, okay, it's been built. What do you want to name the deployment? Okay. So now I'll say, just call the deployment the same thing. Hopefully it works. So now it would go back and push this image to GKE and create a deployment, expose it as a service, and then you'll be able to interact with the web server that Gemini created. This problem. I think what would be beneficial is you create a report and either put it on the GitHub repo. It's on the GitHub repo. So if you look at the README, all steps are there. So just open readme.md and have all the steps. So if you see this, sorry, just a second. I'm very excited about this because this worked. So it said it successfully created a deployment called build with AI 10.6.25, blah, 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 and the service is available at this external IP address. So before we go in there, let's have a look at what GKE says. If we go to the GKE UI, and look at the workloads, there's a new one that got created with today's date. it is deployed. And if we follow this IP address, there you go. That's your server. If you need to look at the steps, it's on the GitHub repo as well. So the code that you clone, there are all these steps right there. So that's your first deployment without actually running any GKE commands. Anyone successfully deployed this? Yes. Use default. Just if it asks for any weird question, just say use defaults. Yes.
Can you run any GitHub actions in there, like scanning in stuff?
Yes. So not exactly on this specific version, but then you can use GitHub as its own MCP servers. So you can just use those tools from GitHub right away. You just need a token, and with that you can run any GitHub actions command that you want to run.
Can you also change the repo to like Docker Hub and stuff?
Yeah. So the entire purpose of this is it's anything that you can code in Python, you can do it. Because your agent itself is not writing these. Actually, Gemini did write a few of my Python functions, but if you can write it, Gemini can point to that. The only thing that you need to make sure is that you have the type hints set up correctly, and then you have a decent enough function documentation or docstring. Otherwise, it wouldn't know which function to use. But mostly like GitHub MCP server, if you look at all of those, they would take care of all of that. You just need to import it, point it that this is the server, this is the authentication token, and there you go. The entire purpose for this workshop was to show you that if there's no MCP server, you can still build something with just Python or Java or JavaScript, whatever. Nice. Love errors. Oh, yeah. So you don't give the local file, you give the folder. It's a folder because you need your Python file, your Docker file, your environment file, and all of that. So if you give it a folder, it can just go and find the Docker file. For the context of this workshop, it's local, but you could have it like sitting anywhere on storage, block storage. You can pull it with the function and then deploy. So it's exactly what you do with GitHub Actions, right? You push it, then you fetch that this is the file or this is the folder, deploy it. You can do the exact same thing with this. And again, Kubernetes and GKE have their own MCP servers, so you don't even need to write all of this that we've written. So it's already there. It's that if you build it yourself, you learn how to make new things. And things raising the hand. Someone raised the hand. Okay, that was the first deployment. We could now go ahead and ask. So this is more like a system that sits on your Slack or Google Chat or Teams, and you can just ask, how are my for doing. You don't even need to open your UI or you don't need to run any function call. It just says, okay, it's available with one replica running. So you can just chat with it and it will do all of those actions for you. You don't need to go on the UI and see, okay, if one replica has 100%, whatever, you get all of that stuff. The other thing is you can also see this on. So this came up with all of my deployments that I have. So the first one is the one that we created right now because I've asked it to list it in descending order. So the one with the current timestamp, current date, it says healthy, replicas available, it's in the default namespace, all good. My older versions, all of the GKE deployments that already exist with autopilot, etc. So you can see all of that. It's just one command. If it's on your Slack channel, you just ask it questions like these, right? Is it working now for you? Doing some. Says, push platform. Okay, great. A question.
Yeah. What sort of extra layers do you have to start to protect stuff like, I don't know, reverse prompting? So where I would prompt this to find out or expose the code used. What sort of layers do you have to protect that?
So, that's a great question, and everyone asks that, and there are so many answers to that. So there are a lot of model armor services that sit not just with GCP. They could block your prompt injection attempts. It scans what you're asking, and then filters out any malicious stuff. That's the first way. Second way is within the model itself. In this case, I've just
Adding more to the initial prompt.
not the prompt itself, because prompt can. I feel like prompt are just instructions. They don't block anything. You can easily bypass the prompts. So in here, what I've done is I've just said that look, use flash. That's it, right? You could actually set a full set of block categories and all sorts of flags that if someone asks a harmful question, block it, don't respond with harmful content. You could have scanning on outgoing tokens that block anything that is sensitive information. So there are so many armors that are already out there. You can apply before and after your agent call. And finally, there's hooks in ADK. So you could write your own hooks. So before you even send a message to your LLM, you can actually write a custom logic to filter it out. And post hook can actually look at the outputs and then filter stuff out. So you can do it yourself if you want, but there's armor services out there. Okay, so I've been told that we are running out of time. Hope you guys got some inspiration of how we run tools. It's just Python. And if you can think of something that you can run in Python, you can. This was the actual image that I built for the workshop talk, which is again Gemini. And now do you want to go to the quiz? We'll now find out who actually followed the workshop and was listening to me elaborate about Gemini.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Yash. I think it was an amazing. That was an amazing workshop. I mean, I myself learned a lot. Thanks, Yash, for such a wonderful presentation. So now what are we going to do is after the event, we'll send through the Google Cloud credits for you guys on your email IDs that you have shared with us. And you have the access to the GitHub repo. So feel free to try it out, run the lab yourself. Now, again, this workshop was just to give you an idea what are things you can achieve, right? So as I always say, so we are not here to tell you what is something that you have to decide. We are trying to show you how you can do what you want to do, right? So using the ADKs, someone was asking me, say, is it looking at the code, the Gemini? Is it looking at the code that or the manifest? What if we develop another agent that can do the scanning of the codes for us, right? So as we always say in the DevOps CI/CD pipeline, shift left, do the security scanning towards the left-hand side when you are building your artifacts. So shift left, do the scanning via an agent in your manifest that are being generated, the code that you are generating. So it's beyond imagination. So whatever you think you want to achieve, it can be done if it can be coded. As Yash was saying, if you can write it in Python, you can build an agent around it. All right. So I just realized actually we did miss a few slides. So let me just share the proper slide with my online attendees. So all the photos will be uploaded here on this folder. This is a public folder. Feel free to scan it. Feel free to upload the photos. Feel free to download the photos if you see some of your clicks, but please don't delete anything. Don't delete anything from the folder. So this is thanks to all the organizers. This is our organizing team for the Kubernetes Meetup group in Sydney. Thanks to our sponsors. Our main sponsor is Google for tonight. We also have some great books that are thankfully sponsored by Packet. And as I was saying at the beginning of the event, Code Cloud, they sponsor us free Code Cloud access vouchers which gives you a 6-month access to the platform. So which will give away to our top leaderboards when we run a quiz. Just a quick overview of the upcoming events. So tonight, that's the 4th Australia Sydney meetup. Then we have next one that's coming up on 18th of June. Again, here, thankfully, you have the presenter in front of you. So Yash is going to be presenting on that event. He's going to talk about agents to build timesheets or building agents to submit your timesheets. If you're really interested in seeing how to build an agent that can do that task for you, register for it, come next week. Then we have our next meetup, which is on 19th at Microsoft Reactor. That is going to be primarily Azure and Kubernetes focused. We are running another Build with AI special edition with our Kubernetes group in Melbourne on 24th. Thanks to PwC for sponsoring the event, and again, thanks to Google for sponsoring the event. And then the next one is on 2nd of July in AWS in Melbourne at AWS. All right. So just a quick snapshot of the prizes for tonight. So we're gonna switch to the quiz. And as I was saying, so we'll have 3 Code Cloud access passes for 6 months. We'll have 3 50% access code, discount code for Kubernetes exams. I've got 3 books, Data Engineering with Google Cloud Platform, 2 books of that. And another one is the Google Machine Learning and Generative AI for Short Solution Architects. And these books are written by Googlers. And obviously, thanks to Matt, we have some really cool, the Build with AI for the wallets. All right, so it is quiz time. Let me, Felix, I need you. Quiz up, right? Quiz up. So please make sure you got your phones handy, ready to scan the QR code, and you have access to the. Okay, so please scan this QR code. Yeah, you can if you want. You won't get any swag. You don't get full points. Is everyone online able to see my screen? Are they able to access the quiz? All right, is everyone ready? Can you see it? I think I shared my screen. No? All right, okay. One second. All right, time for first question. What is the primary role of tool calling for an AI agent? Oh, wow. 100%. Looks like people were really listening to your talk. Oh, no. Someone actually got it wrong. Oh, skip. Okay. Not too bad, 96%. All right, so the correct answer is to enable the agent to execute predefined functions to interact with external systems. Moving on to the next question. What kind of workflow did we design for our AI agent? Sequential, parallel, single model, hierarchical routing. The correct answer is single model. That's not a bad score. Looks like people were all actually paying attention to your presentation. All right, moving on. All right, so who is this? Jono. Jono, you are at the top, mate. Rocking it. How does the agent decide which tool to use? Great stuff. So the correct answer is B. It uses the tool descriptions and the user's prompt to reason about the user's intent and select the most appropriate tool. All right, moving on to the next question. What is the full form of MCP? We should also have managed container platform in here as an option. All right. Looks like this was the toughest of all. Okay, so the correct answer is model context protocol. Moving on to the next question. In ADK, what is the use of init.py? py. Oh, Jonah, you are killing it, man. You are like way ahead of anyone. Anna, so this turns out to be the most difficult one. 15% got it right. So the correct answer is to mark the directory as a Python package, allowing its modules to be imported elsewhere. Now on to the last question. You can still do it, Aman. Beat Jonah. In ADK, what command do you use to run local playground? No one can or should get it wrong. There were so many people asking about this. There were so many people asking about this. Oh, okay. 79. All right. So the correct option is ADK web. And we have the winner here.
One more
Let's-
question that's missing.
This one.
Support. Can
Yes.
you get it for a second?
Okay.
Okay, the final question is, which one was the most important command of this entire workshop?
CD8.
No, no,
Close.
no.
Settle.
It's on the README, which is sh setup destroy. Otherwise, you'll be charged a lot if you don't destroy your resources. So please destroy your resources. It's sh setup.sh, and then with the destroy plan, it will destroy all the resources that you created. Otherwise, you'll be charged.
Hey, Felix, just end, right? It's not working. Yeah, especially if you have a GKE cluster running in your project, you want to make sure if you're not using it, you destroy it. Unless you have GKE autopilot, which is pretty much like containers or Cloud Run. So it spins up the containers on demand. What's happening?
Did I? Unless I edited the query with 10 questions in mind.
Yeah, that's probably the reason why. It's fine. We'll just go through this.
So
Let's
I'll check for
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it. Thanks everyone for participating. Now it's the most awaited time. All right. So unfortunately, I don't know why. Too many technical glitches today. So I'm not able to end the quiz. What are we gonna do? We'll discard the last question. Based on the first 5 questions, we'll go through the leaderboard. And I think anyways, I'm pretty sure he won't be beaten in the last question. All right. So Jonah, do you wanna come here, mate? Big round of applause for Jonah. He's the winner for tonight.
What am I doing?
Congratulations,
Oh,
mate.
geez.
So what do you want? So we have the Build with AI modules. We have 3 Code Cloud Access vouchers.
Yeah.
We have 50% discount vouchers.
Yeah.
And one of those books.
I'll go Code Cloud. voucher.
Okay. Do you mind just giving your details to Felix, please?
Can do.
Yeah, if you don't, then don't complain that you didn't get your prize.
That's
All
all
right,
right.
cheers, mate.
Cheers, thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Next up, we have Nath. Nath. Sorry. Go to leaderboard. Congratulations, mate.
Cheers, mate.
What would you like?
Probably a book.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Just which one do you want? The Gen AI or the data engineering? All right. Now I'll give you the book and
Thank you.
Thank you.
congratulations. Aman. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What would you like?
Can you get photo?
Here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll have a bottle.
There you go.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Next up, Yong. Sorry, is it Jong or Yong? Yeah, yes. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
So do I think it's photo first?
Thank you. What do you like? Do I still have the code cloud?
Yeah, so we got two more left.
Yeah, I'll grab a code
Okay.
cloud.
So can you pass on your details to Felix, please?
Oh,
Awesome. Swapnil? Congratulations.
thank you.
What would you like?
I'll have a book.
All right. Now you should click the photo. Congratulations. Unnati? Oh, yeah. Yeah, just the legal. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What would you like?
I'm confused. And take the water bottle.
Water? Okay. I'll give you the water bottle.
Thank you.
Yes. Congratulations. Next up, Vimal. Congratulations. Bottle? Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
MVP, Ken Lin. Congratulations. Bottle? Oh, bottle. Bottle is in demand. Thank you. Next up, Luke. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All the bottles are gone. So you got one of the book
All right.
or Code Cloud Access.
Yeah. Is that a, yeah, I get a book.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Cheers.
And last but not least, how do I pronounce it? Padalmia. Congratulations. What would you like?
Anything.
We got one more Code Cloud, right?
Yeah, sure, good.
Yeah, we got one Code Cloud Access, 3 50% discount vouchers.
Anything. The code cloud thing.
Code cloud?
shipping, yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you pass on your details to Felix, please? Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. With that, we come to the end of our presentation, our meetup tonight. Before we go, please scan this QR code. If you have any feedback, any inputs, how you like the presentation tonight, if there is anything that you would like to see more in the upcoming presentations or anything, your input is valuable to us. Feel free to provide your input. With that, thanks everyone. We, I think, have another 10 minutes or so. Hang around or do a bit of networking. But thanks everyone for coming tonight. Hopefully this was informative. And as I said, Yash is presenting again next week, next Wednesday. If you want to come and have a look how to develop your agents to submit the timesheet, register for that. Thank you. Have a good night. And again, thanks to Matt and our production team there. Thank you very much, guys. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fix.
Sorry, before you all leave, can we all have a group photo, please? With this thing in the background, a quick one. Can I ask everyone to just come over here? Or maybe on this side, right?
You should say, get to the background. Maybe we can ask.
Anybody? You can ask them those. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.